Now we have a panel discussion on the growing importance of content to drive performance. Let's learn how brands are benefiting by investing in sponsored content that leads to performance. I would like to invite Samrat Dutta, National Sales Head Tyroo, to moderate this discussion.
It is with great pleasure that I welcome all of you and our esteemed panelists today. It gives me immense privilege to moderate this session, the growing importance of content to drive performance. Our panel today will help us comprehend how brands are developing new content formats to engage audiences, creating more immersive experiences for consumers that can refine consumer journeys, thus driving performance. I would like to start the session by introducing all the panelists. We have with us Mr. Shivam Ranjan, Head of Marketing Motorola. Hi, Shivam. We have Mr. Kapil Ohri, Head of Digital Marketing Dabur. Welcome on board, Kapil. And we have Ms. Swagata Palharya, Business Expansion Lead, India and Southeast Asia at Snap Incorporation. Hi, Swagata.
Hi, Samrat.
Having said that, with the amount of content available to the consumer today, it is inevitable to say that consumers tend to overlook ads that do not connect with them. This shift in paradigm has made marketers lean towards targeted and immersive advertising that looks and feels more organic to our consumers. With that, I would like to ask a question to all of our panelists. The question is, what is the importance of content to drive performance and how that has the relevance of content grown over the years? I'll lean on to Mr. Shivam. Shivam, what are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely, very relevant question. And Samrat, I think it's very important to understand that obviously the importance of digital marketing has grown over the years, right? In the marketing mix, you would have seen that digital as a component of the overall marketing spends for all brands has grown over the years. And within digital, we've seen an evolution where essentially instead of just using digital platforms for push-based communication, we are now seeing that the market is so cluttered that the consumers are seeing multiple ads, multiple formats, day in, day out on the same platform. So every brand is competing for the mind share of the consumers on the same platforms. And hence, extremely important for us as brands to differentiate, to give consumers a reason to stop, take a pause, and really try and notice a product in the immense amount of clutter that's out there. So hence, I mean, very relevant question. I think the importance of content has grown because obviously there has been a rapid increase in the number of brands who are participating for the consumer mind share in the digital ecosystem right now. And within that ecosystem, to differentiate yourself, to engage with the consumers, you have to create differentiated content to be able to grasp their attention. And I think different formats exist nowadays, but one of the biggest growth that we have seen as marketers is in video-led formats, right? I mean, I think India as a country has evolved significantly in terms of consuming video far more than other kinds of content currently. Within video, though, there are also multiple ways to engage with consumers. So there are formats that exist right now within video. You see interactive content. Where you let consumers engage with your video in terms of 360-degree format videos or AR, VR content videos, anything and everything that's allowing the consumer to actually interact, engage with the content. Another important thing that I would want to say is that even video content that is say not interactive, you can also optimize that for where the consumer is in their consumer decision journey. So for example, if the consumer is in the awareness phase and you're serving him a content type that is for conversion, then I think you're not doing the job right. So I think what is also important is to identify where the consumer is in the consumer decision journey and then serve appropriate content for him or her at that point of time. So some examples of that might be, if the consumer not aware of the product, maybe a lifestyle, film, traditional storytelling film works because it grasps attention, it captures the attention of the consumer. But if the consumer wants to know more about the product, then that film doesn't do justice. So you'll have to possibly serve like a product film or serve content that basically gives details about the product. When the consumer is in the consideration phase, the content types from influencers which are telling the consumer why the content, why the product is better, why the product is relevant for them, etc., makes more sense. So and hence, taking that forward to every step of the consumer journey. So I would like to summarize by just these 2 points, right? I mean, one is serving the right content type to the consumer at the right time in their purchase journey, and of course identifying the right platform is currently, and giving them the right formats that allow them to actually engage or interact with the content, that ensures at the end of the day that you have better performance metrics delivered to the same consumers.
Understood. That's quite insightful. Thank you, Shivam, for taking us through your point of view. Kapil, I'll move on to you and would love to hear your thoughts.
I think the biggest challenge for marketers or the brands now is not just what the other brands are doing. I think the most critical part when it comes to content and performance marketing is the attention span of consumers, which has gone down to even a 6-7%. I think all of us as a marketer are fighting the attention span. How do we get the attention of the consumer? So few of the things that we tested it out and we tried that, okay, usually when you take sort of a mix insights and a data together, I think that makes a lot of sense. And when we say insight could come from cultural insight to a data insight could be, let's say, the conversations or the searches and all. So what we have noticed that when we use the local insights, or when we take, for example, the hyper local insights. So we have been working with the regional marketing agencies, not the national ones. So to say, we are working with regional production houses. And what we have noticed that the type of insights they pull out. For example, all of us sitting in the metros know about the key occasions as a Diwali, Holi, let's say Christmas, Eid, and all these are bigger sort of occasions. But I think somewhere, if we look and go deep in the tier 2, tier 3, I think the insights that comes out are very different. The stories that exist there, I think are very different. If we can pull out those insights, what they resonate with. Just to give you an example, like in there's the different sort of local festivals that happen in those markets. Can we use that? And can we just layer it with a hyper local targeting campaigns using that? So those are the cultural insights that we can use and make it sort of create content which is sort of based on that. Another insight is definitely what we can take from a listening and the conversations, let's say either via conversations or searches. Like what we noticed last year during the pandemic, the whole trend in the beauty changed from, let's say, because the salons were shut. So it changed to do it yourself. Even in the food space, it becomes a do it yourself. So everybody, I think, taken up that sort of insight and created content so that at least the brand will talk about that this is the brand, you can do it yourself sort of a content. I think that these are critical factors that we have noticed that works when you use insights and data. And then you can basically, and if you pull out the content which resonates with the consumers, then you can at least get the attention span. And we have tested both short format, long format, just to check whether the platform comes back to us, say, okay, do a 15-seconder, do 6-seconder, this works for a brand. Yes, that definitely works. There is no debate because the view-through rates are higher when it comes to we talk about video, because that usually like a 6-second bumper is usually a non-skippable ad. So that still works. But what we have tested that when we do a long, based on the cultural insight or any data insight, when we create a content which is even a long format, that also works. Like we have created content up to 3 minutes, up to 4 minutes and all. And these are all even in regional language, and it resonates across India. And we got view-through rates above 70%, 60%, which is much above the industry benchmark. We were also surprised that how is it possible. But we have been testing it from the last 1.5 years or so, and we basically sort of arrived at this. Even a short format, long format works if we have a right insight to capture the right to capture the attention span or the attention of the consumer. I think that's the most critical part I believe, is when you create content and then which can deliver to for the benefit of the brand.
Understood. Now, I mean, that was, I mean, really interesting to know, I mean, how Dabur is trying to capture the regional topical events and then panning out towards the India side of it. With that thought, Swagata, I'll move on to you and would love to hear what your point of view is.
Sure, Samrat, thank you so much. So I'll start off just by saying that, we all have been seeing that content has been evolved for a very, very long time. It may sound as one of the latest trends in marketing, but it's definitely not new. For centuries, brands have realized that storytelling and connecting with their audiences in a way that is not enforced is vital if they want to build a community and generate a band of loyal followers. Today, content is delivered in a whole host of different ways. You see it in the form of social medias, downloadables, emails, videos, GIFs, and now with interactive content into consideration, the number is even increasing. Even Shivam has mentioned that interactive content is really very important for consideration. Now, content is really everywhere. So, how can you keep up? Or even the more important question for us to understand or to talk about, like, how can you keep up and stand out in the sea of noise? The basic tenet of content marketing is to create a messaging which resonates with audiences, not just to eyeball, but to create an engagement. Today, most of brands want to target millennials and Gen Zs and create a content which can grab their attention, right? Like featuring messaging, which is like a hero message in the opening frame, or achieving a sweet spot of 3 seconds or 5 seconds for a video length to drive an action. With approximately 293 million people using Snapchat every day globally, and in India specifically, Snapchat reaches more than 85 million users monthly. Snapchat ads makes reaching your business goals easy, whether you are looking to build awareness, increasing website visit, or encourage app downloads, or even to drive sales. Snapchat ads are used to inspire action with full screen immersive experience that boost awareness, drive conversions, generate real results for business of all sizes. So I think attention span or creating the messaging which can grip the attention of a consumer is really very critical when we talk about content for performance advertising.
Understood. Thanks you for sharing your brand experience and takeaways on creating higher consumer engagement. Engagement is the key when you're driving or creating a content, which we have understood. Moving on from there, Swagata, I would not let you pause and have the second question for you. We would like to know how Snapchat is providing an engaging and immersive consumer experience with the help of the content. Your thoughts, please.
That's an interesting question, Samrat. So at Snap, we believe that reinventing the camera represents our greatest opportunity to improve the way people live and communicate. We contribute to human progress by empowering people to express themselves, live in the moment, learn about world, and have fun together. When we talk about Snapchat as a platform, the first and foremost thing that we need to understand is about Snapchatters, who are unique, valuable, highly engaged audience, many of whom cannot be reached anywhere else on a given day. Snapchatters spend on an average of over 30 minutes on Snapchat every day. They open app 30 times per day and are 20% more likely to make purchases on mobiles. 200 million Snapchatters engage with augmented reality every day on an average. And 170 million plus Snapchatters engage with scan feature every month. It is important to consider the user behavior as a Snapchatter, who to encounters your ad. Our app consists of multiple tabs, many different ways our audiences engage with platform, like Snap ads, story ads, collection ads. All live within the content and engage users as they are in consumption mode. In addition to this, lenses, which drive augmented reality experiences and are powerful as well as memorable ways to connect with consumers on a massive scale with augmented reality. With one tap, you can invite Snapchatters into your world and into your story. Lenses not just offer an impression, but a playtime. What does it mean? That the time Snapchatters are spending playing with the interactive ad you have created for them. This ad format can be used to drive results across business objectives, right from awareness to engagement to consideration and even to drive sales lift. Now, many of you may not have short form creatives to run on Snapchat. So, in order to solve this, we have a free web based tool you can use to easily create assets for your campaigns, all within Ads Manager. You can either start from scratch or use some of our simple templates to begin with. From there, you will upload any of your brand assets, resize, trim, and many other edits necessary before finally pushing to set up the campaign within Ads Manager. I would say that if you have not tried it, I would really encourage you to do so.
Thank you, Swagata, for the insightful details on ad placements with Snapchat as a platform. We'll move on to the next question. And Kapil, I'll lean on to you. We have seen brands open up towards exploring new platform with curated content, defining the product line. So how do you choose to develop such campaigns and what are your recommendations?
So as Swagata said, we definitely look and see where the TG is, primarily the, let's say if either it's a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So whatever tier we are focusing on, where which are the key platforms. Secondly, definitely we looked at whether that can provide us a sufficient reach and frequency or not. And then these are the, once we are okay with these two key parameters, so we usually test out and put some sort of a budget for beyond the usual Googles and the Facebooks of the world, or so like 10 to 15% of the budget goes in sort of like trying out innovative experiential platforms. So what we have noticed that when we do, let's say, take up platforms, so we have used Snapchat as well, especially for TG, like which is a 15 to 25 when you want to target for a brand like Ohri. So that works in terms of the engagement that we got was definitely better, especially from the metros and all. There are other formats that we have been testing out and doing a mix of a very innovative way of using a QR code and mixing an on-ground innovation with WhatsApp. So whenever we do on-ground innovation, especially let's say any activation, especially in malls now, people have started coming in. So we basically enable that, let's say they can come online, they can basically, they come sort of go to the store, scan. So we usually put a QR code on the, as a neck tag in some of the products. They scan that product, comes to WhatsApp, then we can start engaging them from there on. So those are some of the formats that we have tested. And then the usual ones like Instagram Reels, I think, which is getting better engagement rate, so that everybody is, I think, is trying and testing it out further. So these are the some of the interesting formats that we have been trying it out. Another thing that we usually see the trend in the market, for example, now with OTT gaining a lot of traction, we decided that, and people were watching web series, and this usually started, it gained last year from the first lockdown. So we also started making our own web series. So we have tried out, let's say, creating a series of content. For example, we tied up with a leading OTT player, created a 6-7 episode series on health and fitness last year. We also used the do-it-yourself insights, created a do-it-yourself back web series with so using influencers and creating a web series with them. I think so that is another perspective that we use. Another thing that we also see the celebs that because usually from a reach perspective, beyond the macro and the nano influencers, we use celebs in a way so that it will become more organic usage of them. So we take let's say the TV celebs, create content with them, run it on OTT, So that's also interesting. We think that is an interesting way to leveraging those TV celebs as influencers and running it like a organic content. So whatever content they create looks like completely like created for the OTT platform, not like created for the brand. And the brand is being integrated in their organic sort of in a very subtle and organic way. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Kapil. I'll move on to Shivam and would love to hear your thoughts onto this.
Sure, Samrat. So, like Kapil mentioned, I think there. I mean, definitely, people are moving beyond the Facebooks and the Google ad formats. Definitely, I mean, there are audiences which are engaging on multiple platforms, and depending on what TG you have to target, you'll have to identify different platforms and with capabilities like interactive ad formats, etc., which don't exist on some of the current large scale platforms that exist, right? So, for example, if you ask me, Snap becomes an important platform for us to engage with the Gen Z consumers specifically, and specifically SECA, Metro, Tier 1 for smartphones which are in that segment, right? Which are targeting the youth in that segment. And anyway, as you know, I mean, 18 to 24 happens to be the largest in-market segment for smartphones as well. So a very important segment for us as a smartphone brand. And hence Snap comes out as an interesting channel there. Then, for example, another innovative platform that we found is again delivering great results is ShareChat, specifically with respect to regional content, right? So if you are getting into the mass smartphone segment, you want to target the regional consumer. We've seen very strong engagement as well as CTRs on ShareChat with our regional content. Some other emerging platforms which are actually driving engagement with and sort of helping brands deliver thought leadership, etc., is, for example, Clubhouse, right? I mean, which is an emerging platform, audio platform for social conversations, right? Very, very interesting. The kind of audiences which are there are very different, and the way you engage with them is also very different. Right. So these are some of the very interesting platforms that we are exploring, and we continue to do so to target the relevant TG. In addition to that, I think, I mean, let me talk about from our industry perspective a little bit more. While we all talk about traditional media platforms like social, search, etc., e-commerce happens to be another major platform for us, right? So these large e-commerce marketplaces where we sell our products, actually these platforms are also equally important for us to engage and serve content to consumers. So if you look at us, I mean, we are actually working very closely with these marketplaces to ensure that during the launch campaign, we are offering consumers engagements on the platform. So for example, there are contests on the platform where consumers can directly engage with the brand. Even before the launch, consumers have to guess the specifications, play certain contests, they get to win something. So a lot of engagement that allows consumers to really not just show them a cold banner which says this product is going to be launching, but give them an opportunity to engage. And when they engage, they go to the store page, they learn more about the product. Having detailed store pages. In fact, another interesting fact that we have seen is that if you directly drive a consumer to the product page where the consumer just needs to check out the product, the conversion rates are far lower than if you first direct him to a store page where you have engaging content that the consumer actually spends time on. And while it would sound traditionally not intuitive because you're adding a step in the consumer purchase journey, it actually works better than just driving him straight to the PDP, because you're actually landing him to a place where he's able to know more, engage more, and take a call basis where he is in the consumer purchase journey. So I think very, very important to try all sorts of formats, different platforms to engage with the consumer. And like I said, very important to also serve the content depending on where the consumer is in the purchase journey. I think all these formats, emerging formats, new content types, very, very important. And these will continue to evolve as we speak.
Thank you, Shivam. These are some great insights, and I'm sure we all would gain to learn more from these. Moving on from here, my next question to all the panelists: what are the key content solutions one can look at in order to achieve that desired CTA? Kapil, I'll lean on to you to hear your thoughts first.
Right. See, I think more than the content solutions, I think somewhere, even if we crack, how do we sort of get the content, what content resonates? I think there are ample instances now working and seeing in the market. I think what critically matters is to choose which format. I think format. I'm taking the conversation back to format because and the targeting. On the one side is audience level targeting. All of us are testing, and meanwhile, even despite significant spends on programmatic, we also tested that can we do a mix of a contextual targeting as well as, let's say, audience targeting. And surprisingly, what we are seeing that from a media lens and what content, see, when the same content delivered via both these sort of channels, let's say, or ways, maybe programmatic and contextual, the contextual is delivering much better. For example, when we do healthcare content on a healthcare site, it is delivering even a CTR. The banners are delivering a CTR of, I was shocked to see the 4 to 5% of a CTR versus, like, let's say, the same banner running on a, let's say, on a via programmatic or via other sort of let's say, even non-contextual space, CTRs are sub 1%. So I think somewhere the relevance of targeting also plays a very critical role. Whatever content we churn out, how we basically reach out to them, are we reaching the right intenders or not? I think that is also I think as a marketer we need to see. Second, I think coming from what Shivam said is the journey part. I strongly feel that journey is very critical. If somebody, hypothetically, let's say, if somebody is completely aware of the brand, just to give you an example, like people are aware about, let's say, Chyawanprash as a category and as a brand as well. Now people might be interested to know the next part of it, what the ingredients behind it, what's inside it. So maybe I think somewhere we have to choose the part of the funnel you want to start with, and depends on the brand to brand. If it's a new launch, then definitely we'll start with the top of the funnel. But which part of the funnel? Because that will help us arrive the type of content that you want to create. And like Shivam said, that bottom of the funnel and very critical to engage consumers on the e-commerce marketplaces and platforms as well. So I think again a sort of a proof that we need to figure out where the consumer is in the journey and how do we basically target them. So and another challenge that I see, we spoke about the innovative platforms in the last discussion, but I think we have not still cracked it, that how much we need to spend on the innovation, or let's say on the innovative content part, like in Google, Facebook, and other, where though there's a reach in frequency or there's some sort of a threshold that we have arrived on a formula, all of us as an industry, as a company. But somewhere I think, how much do I need to spend? It's usually, you, and I'm sure you also have seen it, that it's usually a budget out experiment. And if you want to test it out, let's say how the brand metrics are sort of a move, then a significant portion money needs to be put in, which usually you don't, considering monies are usually finite, you don't try that out that much. So I think testing whatever content, just to summarize, like whatever content we have, I think what matters is what media and targeting we fit into that. And secondly, testing the hypothesis, how much we need to spend on an innovative format, I think is also one of the critical part. We need to arrive on a formula for that. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you, Kapil. Swagata, I'll move on to you to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure, Samrat. I totally agree with Kapil that, as he mentioned, the amalgamation of right audience, targeting, and format, all three being married up together could help in delivering better results. To answer your question, Samrat, I think it will be best for me to address this question with the help of some success stories, since we live and see these success stories in our For Business page website as well. So I'm just gonna, mention a couple of examples so that, there are various ad formats that are being added over here, how targeting has been placed, and all these things put together, right? So New Balance, a leading sports footwear and apparel brand, they partnered with Snapchat to drive awareness and purchases. Snapchat's multi-ad product campaign targeted Snapchatters and a shoppable AR lens, which allowed users to virtually try on different sneakers and swipe up directly on the lens to shop. The AR lens campaign actually reached over 7.3 million Snapchatters. In-app engagement for nearly 250,000 Snapchatters who swiped up to New Balance website to further explore sneakers. The shoppable lens and snap ads proved to be effective in driving lift across all measured brand metrics, including a 5-point lift in ad awareness, 3-point lift in brand favorability, and a 2-point lift in purchase intent. The lower funnel campaign was also effective in driving instrumental and incremental purchases, with a Snapchat conversion lift study showing 3.3% purchase lift. Another example that comes to my mind right now is from one of the top FMCG brands from India who partnered with Snapchat to drive ad awareness. Snapchat worked with the client on the curated content created to be promoted on Snapchat, which in turn helped the brand to deliver 6-point in brand ad awareness, 16-point lift in brand association. Now, lastly, I would like to focus on one of our global case studies where Samsung partnered with Snapchat to generate awareness and excitement around the launch of their new Galaxy Note 20 phone. With the multi-format and full funnel approach, Snapchat delivered 9-point uplift in brand awareness, 7-point uplift in action intent.
Understood. Thank you for sharing such great examples, Swagata. I'll move on to Shivam and would love to hear his thoughts. Shivam, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Samrat. I think both Kapil and Swagata have put forth some interesting points, and I think I just want to summarize it into a short framework, right? So, I mean, if the question is which content solutions you can look at to achieve the desired CTA, I really fall back onto a formula, a clear strategy which defines how we approach it, right? So it's a simple thing: who, what, where, and how, right? So let me just try and quickly explain this. Who, like Kapil said, the most important part, right? Who's your TG? Where is he, right? So who's your TG? You just definitely need to find that out. And the content is going to be defined basis who the TG is, what he basically wants, he or she wants, what are the insights about it, right? So who is really important to understand the TG first. The second is when, right? So when is what I just spoke about. Where is the consumer in the consumer purchase journey, and hence basis that you will decide what type of content to serve. So the next question is what, right? So what is it that you want to serve him? So depending on where he or she is in their purchase journey, you decide what you want to serve to that customer. And the last but not the least is how, right? So, and this is where the new content types come into the picture. So we've spoken about multiple, but very, very important to identify the right content type for the right TG, where they are in the purchase journey, and where you're serving it on, right? So all this is a summary of that. And at the end of the day, you decide the content pieces basis this framework. And this is what we follow. And we feel that it really works, help us, have a clear thought process on what to serve to the consumers, when, where, how, and what. And essentially the what, like I think Swagata also mentioned, it could be anything, right? So interactive content, for example, is definitely growing in consideration. But like Kapil mentioned, brands have this dilemma of how much to spend on interactive content, because at the end of the day, you want ROI, right? So you want return on investments, whether it is with respect to brand metrics or say with respect to sales metrics, to say, sales ROI. So brand metrics, for example, Swagata mentioned, I think engagements are also helping up drive brand metrics, and that is something that Snap is able to deliver through the various case studies that she spoke about. But let's talk about this aspect a little bit in terms of sales ROI. and which will become a major factor in brands deciding how much to spend there effectively, right? I think the way we are tracking it, and this is something that I want to share, and it's very interesting. So typically the way you track performance marketing is the number of visits you are directing to the relevant product and the conversions that are happening from there, right? So CPV or CPA, that's you track these two. What we have seen is that actually there is a very strong correlation with searches and conversion. And searches, I'm not talking about just say Google, right? So Google definitely has a strong correlation, and it shows if a consumer is searching on Google, for example, he is far more involved in the purchase journey than a consumer who's not searching, right? So you're blindly hitting a person. So if a person is searching, he obviously knows about the product, and possibly he's in the middle funnel where he's trying to know more about the product. Then there is another step, and this is about these e-commerce platforms. Actually, when you start seeing searches on the e-commerce platform, that consumer is actually far lower than even Google. So he's possibly towards the bottom funnel when he's searching on an e-commerce platform, actively searching. So he's looking to buy. He's searching on a platform which is actually giving him the opportunity to buy or check out the product. Now, that if you look at a comparison between the conversions that we see for people who search on e-commerce platforms versus the traffic that we generate, irrespective of how good we try and target, we always try and deliver relevant targeting, right? So the traffic that we direct right to the product page versus the conversion of the searches that are happening on an e-commerce platform, there is a 3 to 4x difference, and the searches are actually higher in terms of by 3 to 4x versus the hardcore performance traffic that you're directing, which would be with respect to all targetings and all filters, etc. So very interesting, and this shows the importance of content right through the marketing funnel. So I think it's not just important that you serve a content that is able to drive traffic. You're actually serving content that is generating interest first, that is creating awareness first, then it is creating the consumer to research for the product and then move towards the purchase journey. So serving the right content at the right times of the purchase journey, and I'm coming back to this point again, I'm sorry, but I think this becomes important for us. And this is, I just told you, it's actually contrary to performance marketing. So because searches is typically a factor of top funnel marketing, branding, right? So you typically see measure searches, etc., as part of your branding efforts and not performance marketing. But what we've seen is actually if you do a good job there and you're able to get the consumer journey further for that same consumer, right? Then you see far better conversions than just optimizing your performance marketing funnel. So with that, I'd summarize my point. We've already spoken about platforms, so I won't repeat that. But yeah, that's what I had. Thanks.
Thanking everyone for you to have your presence over here. And before we conclude, quick takeaway that we have understood during our session today, that we have understood how creative as well as innovative content solutions like AR are important for marketers to reach the right audience and engage them with the desired call to action. With that, I thank you all for your time. Take care.
Thank you everyone for delving deep into the topic. Friends, a gentle reminder to visit the expo area and enjoy the useful information shared by the partners at their booths. Let's move further to the next session. Stay connected.